Hello everyone, my name is Stephen Bundy. I am a Master's in Business Administration student at West Liberty University. This is an oral presentation for the key assessment in GBS525 or Social Responsibility and Business Ethics class. I am presenting an overview of the rise and fall of WorldCom in the early 2000s. During the presentation, I will be reviewing the company's ethical violations, specifically with their accounting scandal. In the late 1990s and the early 2000s, the technology industry experienced a great amount of growth. This is referred to as the dot-com boom. This was a time that innovation was at its peak and companies were rising to power out of nowhere. Some notable companies that found their way to success during this time period were Yahoo, Napster, and InfoSpace, and many more. Along with the substantial growth in the industry, many companies at the time struggled with unethical business practices. There were companies during this time period that were not able to fully be transparent with their financial statements. Companies would find ways to move money on financial statements to make them appear to be more profitable at the time. These issues came to light, and companies were not able to back up their financial status. Companies filed for bankruptcy, and executives were punished. Of these companies was WorldCom. This company found their way to the top of the technology or service provider industry, but later used unethical tactics in their accounting system. This ultimately led to their bankruptcy. Murray Waldron and William Rector founded the company under the name of Long Distance Discount Service. 2 years later, one of the major culprits in the accounting scandal, Bernie Ebbers, became the CEO. LDDS made quite a few acquisitions that attributed to their early success. One of them was Telecommunications Group, Inc. for $2.5 billion. Next one was MCI Communications Corporation for $40 billion. Fiber Properties Incorporated for $1.2 billion. And CompuServe Corporation for $1.3 billion. During this time, LDDS changed the company name to WorldCom, and shares peaked at over 64 a share. During the early 2000s, WorldCom's profitability began to be questioned. The company's share price began to decrease as a result of company expenses increasing in comparison to their revenue. Wall Street analysts began to see the slower growth as it was apparent that WorldCom was now a less attractive investment. This created a great amount of pressure for upper-level executives at WorldCom. WorldCom started these practices by reducing money in the company reserves by $2.8 billion and moved this money to the revenue line. WorldCom began classifying operating expenses as long-term capital investments. This allowed them another $3.5 billion in profits. Classified assets were expenses that the company paid to lease phone network lines. This added another $500 million in expenses, however, supporting documents were never found. Changes resulted in a $1.38 billion total profit in 2001. At this time, a competitor in AT&T began to lose money while WorldCom was gaining. This caught the attention of the Securities and Exchange Commission. The internal audit team at WorldCom was not able to provide the records for many of the transactions to the SEC that would rectify the company's financial statements. The company later admitted to not following proper accounting practices and admitted to the $3.8 billion inflation of profits over the past 5 years. CEO Bernie Ebbers resigned in April of 2002 amid an SEC investigation relating to $400 million in personal loans. WorldCom later fired their CFO, Scott Sullivan, and the SEC officially filed charges against the company. In July of 2002, WorldCom filed for Chapter 11 bankruptcy, which was the largest bankruptcy in corporate history at the time. It is possible that WorldCom was not able to deal with the fact that the company was not as profitable as it would have liked to be. Other companies in the same industry, like AT&T, did not take the immoral and unethical steps to lie on their financial statements in order to appear more profitable than reality and look like a better investment. Investors may have looked at the company's financial statements and saw a very healthy and profitable company that would be worth investing in, but that wasn't the fact. If WorldCom was not operating with honest and correct accounting standards, what other companies lacked integrity as well? The bankruptcy affected other companies for the reason that regulators most likely became wary of other companies' financial statements as well. Companies that held proper integrity in their financial reporting were probably bothered by regulators for information that did not need to be looked at. This most likely took a lot of time and effort. The company's name was then changed to MCI during the rebuilding process. MCI fired the COO, general counsel, board of directors, and over 400 finance and accounting employees. The new CEO, Michael Capellas, established a code of conduct, an ethics office, hired a chief ethics officer, and required ethics training for all of their employees. The rise and fall of WorldCom was due to ethical issues occurring in the company during the scandal. It is apparent that what needed to be done to the company has been done to ensure that there are not any more ethical ramifications. The company rid of the bad eggs within the organization and made sure that current and new employees are aware of the new ethical conduct that is expected throughout the building of the new company. Organizations in today's world should establish a proper code of ethics that provides its employees with a guideline representing the company's integrity. Although accounting fraud was common in the past decade, many companies have taken steps to make sure that the organization is ethically sound. The example of WorldCom is something that businesses can analyze and use to make their respective organizations better in terms of ethical conduct. The next slide will show the resources that I used on this project, and I'd like to thank you for viewing my presentation.